Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. Uneducated Network, you see right here behind us, presents Uneducated Sports Talk for B-Dub, Brian Wilkinson. I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. What's up, brother? This is college casual football talk, and we are talking bowl games and much more as well. So the season's over with.
Season's over.
Regular season's over with. Bowl games are just starting. We had our conference championship, so we all know who's going where. We all know the top 4 teams in the playoffs. We'll talk about that for a second. And we know most of the bowl games. We're going to talk about the smaller ones.
Yeah.
You can't get to the big ones without the small ones.
Give you a rundown for anybody that, you see these games on your phone because ESPN tells you about them, but you don't really care because, there's a lot of small schools. It's great for the small, everybody, college football is so big. Everybody's like, why is there so many bowls, man? You got so many bowls, this, that, and the other. College football is so big, man. You can't just reward the elite of the elite,
Exactly, yeah.
You got to get, there's just too many teams for just 4 of them to be, as much as we just talk about those 4 teams,
right.
There's 120, there's 120 plus programs that play just in Division I football.
Yeah.
So that's why the bowl season's so big. It's good for everybody.
The quality is, or not the quality, but they just actually, just win 6 games.
Yeah.
I've seen on a few occasions teams with 5 wins have gotten on a few occasions over the years. But other than that, win 6 games and you get a chance. One, this isn't the pros to where you're playing for money. This is college. If you're a guy, you're a senior and you're not that good, you're not going to the pros, but you want to play that last game,
that
right?
Final hurrah.
Yeah. So why not? I'm a big fan of play because they're kids. And for 90% of these guys, they're not going to the pros.
No.
So you might as well play that last game and get out the way now. Of course, money's involved with the program. We don't understand that. But this is these guys' time to shine. Most of them. A lot of them are playing under bright lights. The only ones on TV, so you know that people are looking at you, which is fun. So I'm down with the bowl games. What is it, 29 bowl games?
41 in total.
40.
Including the playoff is 49 in total. It's
okay.
About, or 41, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 40, yeah.
It's about 38-ish. So
okay.
you're about 10 off. It's about 38-ish without
something
the
like that, yeah.
games.
So, I mean, you're looking at least 76 to 80-something teams, 82 teams, whatever, that have a chance to play one last game for their careers. So unless you go to like Canada or something, but outside of that, that's why the bowl games are significant to us as a fan, as viewers. We like to see extra games, something to get us through until the major bowl games come through. And if you're avid college football fans like we are, watch the games, until it starts getting crappy. Then we'll turn it off. But that being said, man, let's have a rundown of
we actually had quite a few pretty good games come out of this first slate. We're not going to start with one of those, though. Troy and North Texas played in the New Orleans Bowl. Troy took that home pretty handily, 50-30.
Same team that beat LSU.
That's true.
So, I mean, you knew that they were going to come in there and be the better team, regardless who their competition was when it comes down to the lower level teams.
North Texas has been on the upturn in recent seasons, but there's so many teams in Texas. Only so many of them can be good, right?
Right. No, you're right.
Western Kentucky and Georgia State was a pretty good defensive contest. Finished out. Georgia State took that one home, 27-17.
It's weird because Georgia State. I mean, they just been a program for like maybe 7-8 years now. Maybe a Division I program.
Yeah.
And they've been pretty
Jumping it up.
Yeah, they've been pretty good over the last. I mean, against competition against Division I, they've at least held their own against bigger names. So I respect them. Yeah, you're right.
They're on a nice little upturn.
They are.
The woes continue for the University of Oregon. They already lost their head coach. He said, I'm out. I'm not even going to coach this bowl game. They dropped to Boise State, the only top 25 team to have played so far in this bowl season. Boise State took that home 38-28, so it's still a pretty decent contest. A lot of offense in this one, but in the end, it was just Boise State was the better team.
Knew that going in. They're trying to hype just this week up, and they're saying, hey, the marquee game is Boise State versus Oregon because they have history. And everyone knows the Garrett Blunt punch on the Boise State guy way back in the day. I mean, on the Oregon guy, excuse me. Oh,
no.
He played for
Garrett Blunt played for Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. So he punched the Boise State guy. Oh, yeah. Anyways, so they act like it was history. They have bad blood. These guys, like, 10 years old when this happened. So they can care less about it. So they try to hype it up. And it was still a good game, but Boise State was just the better team.
Moving on, Marshall is back in the postseason after a strangely disastrous 3-9 performance last season.
Right.
Anyway, they hold off Colorado State in what ended up being quite the thriller in the final seconds. Came down to a nice couple of defensive plays in the very end for Marshall. But Marshall and Coach Holliday officially moved to 5-0 in bowl games. And the Thundering Herd all-time 11-2. Not a lot of teams can boast that kind of a winning percentage in the postseason.
That's awesome. I remember days back in maybe the late 90s, early 2000s when they were actually a powerhouse. Yeah. I mean, not like say a powerhouse, but they were always in the top 10. And the way they did offense, I mean, Randy Moss would know that.
You didn't want to mess with Marshall.
they were throwing it deep. They're vertical, and they were fun to watch. So it's always nice to hear Marshall in a positive light going on.
And the final game for the day of December 16th, Middle Tennessee versus Arkansas State, a nice shootout to end the day off. Middle Tennessee took that one home 35-30. It wasn't much more to be said about that game. It was just kind of whoever ended up with the ball last was going to take that one home.
Right.
The most fun bowl game, I guess, of the early slate here. Lane Kiffin and Florida Atlantic played the University of Akron in the Boca Raton Bowl, I believe it was. So it was basically a home game for Florida Atlantic.
Right.
Florida Atlantic won 50-3, completely intentionally. As the post-game interview, Lane Kiffin decided to give us the information that the athletic director from Akron had decided to talk a little bit of smack at the luncheon before the game, the day before the game, excuse me. And Mr. Kiffin does not pull any punches, and he takes some things kind of personally. So it was about I want to say it was about the middle of the third quarter, and Florida they were already up handily, 31-3, or no, 28-3. They score a touchdown to go up 34-3, and Lane Kiffin says, "No, we're gonna go for 2." This is what you get. This is what you get for talking all that smack yesterday at the lunch.
Did they get it?
They did get it. They did get it.
They got it.
So 50-3, no mistake, entirely intentional.
Yes.
At the post-game interview, at first Lane Kiffin was reserved to say anything about it. He just kind of walked off like, we're not going to talk about that. And then Lane Kiffin, he couldn't help himself. He turns around to the cameras and says, "Man, look, guys, the athletic director at Akron was talking a little bit of smack yesterday. It's kind of his bad that the score was run up on him."
It's not our bad, it's his bad. That's why I like Lane Kiffin. I like him. A lot of people don't like him because of his track history. I like him because that when he's with a program, he's going all out. His way. Yeah. And that's the problem. Sometimes he does it his way. It's all out, but it's his way, and it's not like what everybody wants it to be. But, I like the fact that he settled down. Matter of fact, speaking of settling down, we talk about his contract that he got.
The following day, in fact. They didn't FAU wasted no time signing Lane Kiffin to a 10-year deal. The terms of his we didn't get a disclosed amount, but the terms of the last deal were about $950,000 a year, so you can imagine it's probably a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So that's at least a $10 million deal, if not probably $15 to $20 million deal over the
overall,
life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like it. I'm tired of these guys trying to jump ship, going to these big universities. Most of the time, failing. We have a few success guys, but most of the time they go in and they fail and they get turned over again. And I like people. Hey, start your own program. FAU has been known for nothing in football.
Literally nothing.
Yeah. How about you start that culture in 30 years, 40 years? People want to jump on the FAU bandwagon and be that powerhouse. Mm-hmm. You could be the one to start that if you're Lane Kiffin. And now, would he go the whole entire 10 years? I doubt it, to be honest, but I would love for him to try and at least attempt to make this a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what he's going to try and do. But Lane Kiffin, someone gets knocking on his door, a big program, bringing the dollars. He's probably going to shoot out.
But don't forget, Florida football is kind of in a little bit of a wishy-washy kind of state. Florida's not very good. Right. Florida State's not very good. Miami looks very good, but
it's not a one-year wonder.
Yeah.
Just because of how they play.
So there's some room for FAU to step up in there.
Maybe.
Don't forget about UCF and Scott Frost. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Yeah. They were 12-0 this year. That was something else.
Could be 13-0 against Auburn. We'll find out. We'll find out. Because they're going to play for their coach, but we'll talk about this in a second.
Right. And then to round out on today, Wednesday the 20th, we had Louisiana Tech played SMU. SMU threw like 12 picks in this game.
It's crazy. SMU's old coach left, and the coach that just hired, his first game was at this bowl game.
Yeah.
And he said he just did it, and I admire him for doing that. I just want to see how the guys are.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste any time, and instead of coming in after the bowl game, let me come in during the bowl game, send my presence.
Yeah.
Now it's not a good way to start your season off. To start your tenure with SMU, but I do admire him going in there for that one game. You lose by 41 points, but
at least you're not stumbling through. At least you showed up and you know what you're working with.
Right,
You're not stumbling
through
spring training and stumbling through the first couple of games of next season doing this.
You saw firsthand.
He did it today.
First thing he was saying was, get rid of the quarterback. get rid of the quarterback, which is sad. But no, so I admire that, and he had nothing to lose.
No.
I mean, you lose, it's like, that's not my staff anyway,
Yeah.
so, no, this is not my kids. But, so I enjoyed that part. But I did watch a little bit of the La Tech, us being close to Louisiana Tech, kind of had some sense of rooting for those guys. But they came out there and established dominance in this game. So
They've been a really interesting case the last decade or so. They've been very good.
I've seen their stats this year. They've lost a lot of close games, close games. I think 4 games they lost by 1 score.
Yeah.
So they're 6-6. They could have easily been 10-2. I mean, if it wasn't for this and for that, a little tacky things going on. But
if you're interested in the gunning around brand of football, man, La Tech scores points.
They do.
They average something like 52
What
points
was the game against, was it Mississippi State? Or was it Mississippi State? They had that crazy game.
Yeah, with the 93-yard goal to go 93-yard situation.
Well, they had a fumble. It was like
a
fumble that was like that lasted like 90-something yards.
It was a fumble, and the defensive back couldn't recover it, so he just kicked it, and it just kept going. Nobody could pick it up. So, it just kept rolling.
I mean, they're known for that for this year, but we all know they can score points against, I'm not going to say anybody, but against their own competition. They can score a lot of points, man. Even that Mississippi State game, they scored.
They were over 20.
Yeah, it was over 20 against Mississippi State, a good SEC football team. So, La Tech is only trending up, in my opinion. Bowl wins, when you win the bowl games, is that much better for your program.
Right.
When you lose a bowl game, depending on what team you are, if you lose a bowl game, it can kind of hurt you, depending on how you lose. So, SMU was like, God, dog, we got blown out in the, DXL Bowl?
Yes, first annual DXL Frisco Bowl or something like that.
They were throwing in bowls. Oh,
hey,
man.
somebody wants to pay for it.
Right. We're going to start getting Reese's Bowls and Twix Bowls. Anyways.
But the interesting thing about this bowl season, we just had passed a referendum that brings in the first ever early signing period for recruits to college football. So not only have postseason coaches have been dealing with practicing and getting teams ready for their bowl game, at the same time, because you can't ever slow down on that recruiting trail in college, man. If you're not recruiting, you're losing.
Right.
So they've been pulling double duty with early signing periods starting today, and we'll talk about a couple of the big winners and a couple of big losers, or one of the big losers from this today signing period. The rich get richer.
Right.
Clemson and that defensive line. Clemson pulls in 2 top 5. I just want to stop on that for a second, because we all know how good Clemson's defensive line has been over since Dabo has gotten there. And even with a small recruiting class that they've shown so far, because the signing period is not over yet. This is early signing period. They've already signed 2 top 5 overall players, both defensive linemen.
I think it was 3 top 5 overall. They got the number 2 quarterback. Georgia.
They pulled the number 1 overall pocket passer.
Yeah, there you go.
For Clemson.
Yeah,
which is kind of an interesting.
We'll see, because we don't know how pocket passers do with that offense yet. We're so used to seeing Deshaun Watson, we're used to seeing
Kelly Bryant.
Yeah, so we're not Taj Boyd, who was a pocket passer, but he could run.
Yeah,
on instance, he could run, but we're so used to seeing that. But That being said, look, I like that it's early. That you can get those guys to commit right there. Now, some who like stealing big top names from other guys at the last minute, those guys are going to hate that early signing stuff because now most of those top names might sign early and you're like, I could have tried to get them, 3 or 4 weeks down the line from somebody else. So those guys missed that part of it. But I like it, though. Get the guys early. Come on in or not. I don't know if they're coming in or not, but, I mean, get them early so you know that you got them and you got to sweat about them no more. I like that fact about it. But we're going to talk about the winners and the losers. We talk about winners, Clemson. Also, you said Nebraska got a few guys in?
Nebraska pulled... so the interesting thing about this, number one, Nebraska fired their head coach this season. They will bring alum Scott Frost from the UCF program. In case you're not familiar with this guy's work, 2 years ago, UCF went 0-12.
0-12.
0-12, 2 seasons ago. In 2 seasons, Scott Frost has brought this program to the Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl, yeah.
The Peach Bowl. Mm-hmm. They're playing on January 1st in the New Year's 6 bowl games.
Deservedly so. Deservedly.
12-0 in just 2 seasons. So, of course, Nebraska's looking over there like, he went through our system. Let's get that guy back over here. And obviously, being an alum, he's happy to go. Great news for him. His entire staff, down to the man, everybody from his staff is actually going from UCF to Nebraska with him. They will be staying to coach the Peach Bowl,
which I like. I like that. It says a lot about a man's integrity when he does that.
All of them will be staying to coach the Peach Bowl, and they will then all leave for Nebraska.
You already know the minute, whether they win or lose. If they win, they're popping champagne for a second. If they lose, it's all quiet. But as soon as he leaves out the door, win or loss, they are gone on the plane going to Nebraska. And that's the way college football or those kind of things work.
The super interesting thing about this, they did pull one top 300 ESPN overall top 300 quarterback, and they also pulled one junior college top 50 running back big time players that they pulled. As an incoming coach, being able to hold on to verbal commits is huge.
Right.
As an incoming coach who is staying across the country to coach another bowl game, being able to hold on to verbal commits is almost impossible. He's managed to do both while also not being present for signing day because he's practicing with his team.
Yep.
There were actually no Nebraska coaches at signing day today because they were all coaching at UCF.
Yep.
But they managed to retain all 13 of their verbal commits for this season and pick up the top 300 quarterback and a top 50 JUCO running back, as well as they will be taking 2 UCF recruits with them, a wide receiver and a tight end, coming through from UCF to Nebraska.
Look, they understand. They understand what they're getting with Scott Frost. They're not even worried about it. Go ahead, coach your game. UCF, because we already know it's a done deal when you're doing that. You come to Nebraska. So those guys knew, and they saw their offense, especially this year. Mm-hmm. You saw what he's got going on at UCF, and those guys aren't the most talented guys. We're talking about 2- and 3-star recruits over there. Just imagine a top 300 player coming into his program, what he could do with you. So you're not like, I'll wait, and go to Nebraska. It's fine. Take your time, coach. Coach him up. Come holler at me when you're done. So they've seen what he could do at UCF, and I've seen it, and it's beautiful how they run that offense. And like you said, 0-12 to 12-0 in just 2 years. I can't even think of anything like that. I don't think it's ever happened.
I don't care what kind of competition you're playing.
Yeah, 2 years.
You go from no wins to all the wins in 2 years.
In 2 years. They went
That's
6.
crazy.
It was 6-6 last year. 6-6. Or 7-6.
They were hovering somewhere around.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. But just to go from that. From 0-something to 6 wins.
Yeah.
Then the 12 wins without a loss. Oh, that's money in the bank right there for Nebraska, man. Quick, so losers for the recruits, early losers. Ohio State.
Biggest loser. Ohio State.
The biggest loser. So Ohio State. It was they had a few guys leave. You probably know who all left.
They had one big problem. They had a recruiting snafu with number 7 recruit Micah Parsons. Something about a photo he took with Kirk Herbstreit and someone else.
Oh, dang.
So when you're a recruit, you're not actually allowed to have those types of personifications. Obviously, if you're an amateur, you're not allowed to monetize off of your own likeness. So stuff like that, you can't do that during recruiting. You can't use that as a pitch if you're a coach. So by virtue of that, Ohio State loses number 7 Micah Parsons to interdivision rival Penn State. By the way, so that's going to be a huge issue for them. They lose ESPN number 20 quarterback to the University of Florida, and there have been rumors circulating around about how long Urban Meyer may or may not be staying at Ohio State, which came into play with number 5 overall recruit ended up going to Clemson.
Yeah.
So
that's
big time issues for Ohio State.
I mean, it's early, but it's very impactful. Those are impact guys right away. You talk about how high they were in the recruit process. That's a blow. And I'm curious, where is Urban Meyer? The rumors, where is he actually trying to go, or what is he trying to do?
I haven't heard anything.
And why?
I haven't heard anything.
That's the way it goes, Urban. I mean, yes, you're just 3 years removed from winning the national title. So I'm like, let the man have that. They've been stumbling the last couple years, but and this year with the Iowa loss was heartbreaking for them as well. But outside of that, I mean, Ohio State is still great competition. But early recruitment, they were the losers. Other teams that did pretty well, Florida did well, and Georgia. Georgia got
with the number 1 overall recruit.
Yes, so Georgia, man.
Quarterback.
So we saw out of the top 5, I think 4 went to teams that are currently in the playoff race right now.
Yes,
I believe. So it just tells you, hey, if you're good, guys are gonna come there and follow, and especially with Clemson with the D line.
3 of them split between Clemson and Georgia.
Yeah,
by the way.
There you go. Yeah, see, so regardless, the rich are gonna get richer. You just keep winning, and it's funny because we only saw out of those 1 Alabama out of those 5. So you never know.
Nick Saban is going to pull recruits.
Yeah, he's
just wherever.
It's going to happen.
His track record alone is going to pull recruits.
It's going to happen.
The biggest win for me, Georgia.
Yes.
Clemson in terms of quantity of quality, but Georgia in terms of quality where you're getting it, which is very interesting. Kirby Smart, everybody knows, was a defensive coordinator at Alabama. To be able to pull the number 1 overall quarterback as a running team predicated on that play defense and run the ball type of offense, to pull the number 1 quarterback in the nation in this recruiting class, fantastic, phenomenal.
Hey, it's funny because just last year, I didn't think of Georgia as a threat to anybody, but it just tells you how 1 year can make a big difference in your recruiting. And this year, they've looked very, very spectacular this year, obviously going to the playoffs. But teams want to be on that train. They want to be on that train. And if you say, if it's different between Georgia and Auburn, that 1 win, the SEC championship, if anything, if Auburn wins that game, someone might, I want to go to Auburn because they're the champions. You want to be a champion. And so it tells the difference between a season and a game that can bring recruits. I mean, because these are still young kids, 18. They're finally getting the freedom to choose who they want to go to if you're that good, So to choose, you don't know why they're going to choose or how they're going to choose. They might be in there just taking names off the hat. You just never know. So keep winning and winning big games.
And the players will come.
Obviously. That's how it goes, man. So anything else you got for us, man?
That's going to wrap it up for today.
Like I said,
quiet.
It was quiet, let's be honest. But next week, we'll probably have a little more bigger games coming in. Got a lot to talk about. It's still college football, and we just can't wait for the playoffs start January 1st. And the championship game is January 8th, so it's right around the corner. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
No, Merry Christmas, you beat up.
Merry Christmas, Carlos.
So with that being said, guys, enjoy your holiday, and, watch college football, and we'll be back to talk about it next week. For Brian Beat-Up Wilkinson, I'm Carlos Clayton. This is Uneducated Sports Talk, presented by Uneducated Network. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.